All around was clear evidence that the plateau had once been much more extensive. The next oasis town was in Saleh, with a population of 43,000. Mud buildings were crowded together as if seeking shelter from the encroaching sand. The camel is the all-important ship of the desert. We came across camel caravans hundreds of miles from the nearest settlements, moving in seemingly slow motion, with the Tuareg leading the string, walking alongside and seldom mounted. By way of contrast, purposeful military trucks swept across the landscape. We followed a steep escarpment for many miles and came across the burnt-out remains of a military jeep, which we later learnt from its crew had caught fire and sprayed exploding ammunition in every direction. The track, referred to as the piste, turned sharply into a cleft in the mountains. This is the Arak Gorge. The small square shape just below the letter A in Arak is a military fort. Here the truck is entering the gorge. The track follows a dried riverbed, and the fort lies just around the bend, beneath the castle-like outcrop. It is located at the foot of tall cliffs, littered with falling rocks the size of houses. We crossed the Tropic of Cancer, and were now officially in the tropics. The desert lays bare the bones of the landscape. This upended strata extended as far as the eye could see. At the head of the gorge we found ourselves in an area where a surface of fine sand was dotted with natural rock sculptures, set out as if for an art exhibition. Camels picked their way through the rugged terrain, some looking as though they were in need of a good meal. This basalt mountain that looked so close turned out to be 50 miles away. And when we finally reached it, it looked as if the molten lava had just boiled out of the ground and solidified. We now approach the regional centre of Tamanrasset, situated at 4,500 feet above sea level at the base of the Hogar Mountains. It was a pleasant town, with, at that time, the French military and administrators being much in evidence. Among them were local troops with their camels and colourful uniforms. Most of the buildings were constructed of mud. While we were taking on fuel, we were besieged by local Tuareg people looking for a ride. We made a side trip into the heart of the Hogar Mountains, which rise to over 9,000 feet. We followed the rough track and climbed up to the hermitage of Esikrem, which was at 7,700 feet. There is open water in these mountains, and there are even small fish in the pools. We wondered how they got there, because the water has no outlet and simply sinks into the sand when it descends from the mountains. The track was stony and rough. We continued our route south with a couple of passengers we picked up in Tamanrasset. The local costume is very practical and surprisingly comfortable for desert conditions. We had overheating problems and installed a can to catch the water expelled through the filler cap. To control its flow, we improvised a Schrader valve using a piece of wood and a length of hose.